vast emptiness of the Australian outback, where the horizon curves like a blade and silence isn't peaceful but watchful, there are places that don't just exist, they remember. And one of them stands alone on the Nullarbor Plain, a rusted red phone booth bolted to a concrete pad 700 kilometers east of Perth. It was never meant to be famous. Installed in 1963 by the Australian Department of Transport, it was one of 28 emergency call boxes along the air highway, lifelines for stranded travelers in a land that kills with indifference. By 1982, most were abandoned. This one became a tomb without a body. The story begins with Jack Mercer, not just a geologist, but a man who loved deserts. He'd worked the Simpson, the Tanami, even the Sahara, but the Nullarbor? He called it the last honest place on Earth. On July 16, 1982, he left Kalgoorlie in his Land Cruiser, heading west with 3 weeks of supplies, a Geiger counter, and a mission: map uranium traces near the Trans-Australian Railway. His last radio log, time-stamped July 18th, 3:47 p.m. Checkpoint Alpha clear, moving to Bravo. Weather stable, dust minimal, all systems green, normal, routine, unremarkable. But at 8:12 p.m., the Royal Flying Doctor Service Base in Port Augusta received a call from a number not in their registry. The line crackled with static, unusual given the clear skies reported that night. Then Jack's voice, thin, strained, as if speaking through clenched teeth. "I'm not alone. They're watching me from the salt flats. I'm in the booth near the 70 DA kilometer marker. Please." A sharp intake of breath, then a sound like fabric tearing through air, then silence. The operator held the line for 17 minutes. Nothing. At 9:30 p.m., a Bell 26 chopper lifted off, thermal cameras scanning the heat-blanketed plane. They found the booth at 10:02 p.m. It stood exactly where Jack said, surrounded by 360 degrees of flat, red earth and blinding white salt lakes. The door was locked from the inside, deadbolt engaged, keys still in the lock. The receiver hung off the hook, swaying slightly in the night breeze. Inside, Jack's leather satchel, his compass, a half-eaten tin of peaches, and his field journal open to a page scrawled in frantic, slanted handwriting. They don't walk. They glide like heat haze over salt. No footprints, only circles. They're not human, not animals. They're gaps, holes in the world. Don't look directly. It pulls you in. But Jack himself? Gone. The search team measured everything. Footprints, one set, boot size 10, leading from his Land Cruiser, found 12 kilometers east, to the booth. No prints leaving, not a single scuff beyond the concrete pad. Wind data, 4 kilometers per H from the south, too light to erase tracks. Soil analysis. Red clay retains impressions for weeks in dry conditions. Yet, nothing. Then, the circle. At dawn, a ranger noticed it. perfect ring pressed into the salt crust, 2.1 meters in diameter, centered on the booth. Inside the circle, pristine. Not a grain disturbed. Outside, Jack's footprints, stopping abruptly at the edge, as if he'd stepped across a threshold and ceased to exist. The case was closed in 1983. Presumed death due to environmental exposure. But the Outback didn't forget. In 1985, trucker Mick Hollis was hauling cattle west when his radio died near the 700 Kamasham marker. It was 2 a.m. moonless. Then he saw it. The booth glowing from within. A soft amber light, like an old incandescent bulb. Impossible. The power had been cut in 1979. He stopped, walked toward it. Through the grimy glass, he saw a man in a dusty field jacket, back turned, hand on the receiver. "Mate?" Mick called. No answer. He opened the door. Empty. But the receiver was warm to the touch, and on the floor, a fresh page torn from a journal that hadn't been seen in 3 years. It read, "They don't take you. They fold the world around you. You're still here. But the world forgot to include you." In 1991, a Bureau of Meteorology sensor nearby recorded an anomaly. At exactly 8:12 p.m., atmospheric pressure dropped 12 pascals in 3 seconds, then snapped back. No storm, no seismic event, just a pocket of nothingness. To this day, travelers leave coins on the booth shelf. For luck, they say, but the Aboriginal elders of the Mirning people, whose ancestors walked this land for 60,000 years, called the spot Wangaga Wangaga, the place where the sky touches the earth too hard. They say it's a wound in the world, and sometimes it bleeds people. So if you ever drive the Nullarbor and your radio cuts out and you see that red booth glowing in the dark, don't stop, don't look, and whatever you do, don't pick up the ringing phone. This story is based on declassified Australian National Archives file AU Opside 8 2 114 Royal Flying Doctor Service Incident Logs, Bureau of Meteorology Anomaly Reports, and oral histories from Mirning elders and Outback surveyors. Names and minor details have been adjusted for narrative flow, but the core events remain as documented. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be survived. Subscribe if you dare to keep driving.